Welcome back to Restore Thrive. We're talking about the basic movement archetypes. What's a movement archetype? It's a basic start or finish position that every athlete should be able to get into. Today we're talking about our third upper body movement archetype. That's the front rack position. So if you've been in the weight room, you're familiar with front rack. It's when our arms are rotated out, elbows are flexed, and hands are holding something like a barbell, a kettlebell, a dumbbell in hand. So when we do this test, there's a couple things that we want to see. If we're looking at somebody in this front rack position from the front, we want to see the elbows in line with the shoulders. We want to see the hands outside of the shoulders. If we look from the side and we get in this front rack shape, what we want to see is that we're straight with the upper body, that we're not rounded forward through the shoulders or rounded through the upper back. So take a minute and check yourself in this front rack position. And if you find, after you've checked yourself in this front rack position, that your hands are closer to your face, your elbows are flared out instead of your hands being outside of your shoulders, or you're a little bit rounded through your head or your upper back, we're going to talk about some basic ways to open you up in this front rack shape. So the first thing we're going to talk about here is how to stretch the back of the shoulders. If you think about, as I wind up this shoulder, my ability to set my shoulder is dictated in part by how much flexibility or slack I have in the back of my shoulder. So all we'll do here is take a light band. We've got this up against the rack. You can put this up against a pole. You can close this in a door. I'm going to put my arm into the band and press my arm out in front to get my elbow straight. My free hand's going to come around to stabilize my elbow, and then I'm going to let that band kind of pull on my shoulder to bring my shoulder to the back of my socket, and then I'm going to use that tension in the back of the shoulder with the band and start rotating my arm out and in. And what I want to be sure of when I do this is that I'm not just turning my hand and my wrist, but if I look at the pit of my elbow, it should be pointed up when I'm rotated out, and it should be turning in as I'm rotating my shoulder in. So make sure you get that pit of the elbow rotating, and you've got that shoulder in the back of the socket. We don't want to be out front here. We want to be back in the back of the socket as we rotate back and forth. Spend a good 1 to 2 minutes working the back of that shoulder socket, and then from here we can take this band, put it a little bit lower at about hip height, and get into a modified front rack position. So I'm going to basically bring my elbow forward, grab my elbow in by my side, and hold on to the band with my hand. And all I have to do from here is pull down to contract a little bit. And then as I let go and let the band pull me back, make sure I keep my elbow in by my side. Breathe through that position. I should feel that stretching kind of right through the back of my shoulder, down my lateral seam. And I'll go in and out of that contract, relax for 3 to 4 rounds, 5 seconds contracting, 10 seconds when I let that elbow come back overhead. And then the last piece we want to clean up here is the tricep. So not a lot of people think about flexibility through the tricep, but remember, this is a 2-joint muscle. It crosses the elbow and the shoulder. So if I'm tight in my elbow or tight in the back of my shoulder, it's going to really prevent my arm from getting up into that full rotated out and elbow flexed position. So all we need here is a simple foam roll. If you don't have a foam roll, even a barbell will do, although it's a little less forgiving. You'll lay the back of your arm on the foam roll, start at the top of your tricep, and all we want to do is explore here. We want to see, what does it feel like when my elbow's bent versus extended, and what does it feel like when my palm's up here versus when my palms turn down here. So remember, that elbow and tricep works to help with rotation through the arm as well. So we want to alternate back and forth, flexing and extending, palm up, palm down, palm up, palm down. And if that doesn't feel sore or tender, we're just going to move down a section and do the same thing. Palm up, palm down, palm up, palm down, working all the way to just above the elbow. Let's make sure we do that on both sides so that we're clearing that tissue. and then recheck that front rack position. And again, remember when we get in that front rack position, elbows in line with the shoulder, your hand is sitting outside of your shoulder, you're nice and tall, not rounded through your upper back. If you want to find out more about how to improve your shoulder range of motion or your performance, you can find us at restorethrive.com.